It is December 31st, which means that this was undoubtedly the last book I'm going to read in 2024. This is Wildwood, the first of a trilogy by Colin Meloy, best known as the singer and songwriter of the band The Decemberists, a band that I just got into this year, which is really weird because they're so similar to so many other bands that I like, and they've been around literally as long as I've been alive. The band formed the year I was born, so I don't know how I didn't get into them sooner. I knew a couple songs, but anyways, got really into the Decemberists this year. Found out that the singer had written a book, and the songs that he's written have some really good storytelling in them. So I thought it would be interesting to see what he does with a book. So this is I think middle grade is what like book publishers call it, like one step below young adult. The main character is 12 years old, and I think that's kind of the target demographic. It is not often that I read YA or middle grade. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that. Some people get weird about, I don't know, like weird and pretentious about it. I don't really care. Read what you want. But personally, I usually don't read very much YA or middle grade unless it's something that I read when I was a kid and I'm doing it for nostalgia's sake. I think this is actually the first time that I've read a children's book as an adult that I didn't read when I was a child. So it's not nostalgia. I just picked this up and read it for the first time. And I really liked it. It's... So the premise is our main character is a 12-year-old girl in Portland. Her baby brother, she's like taking her baby brother for a walk. He gets kidnapped by a bunch of crows, and they carry him off into this place called the Impassable Wilderness on the edge of town. She goes after him along with a friend from school, and they discover that within the impassable wilderness is a whole civilization of humans, but also talking animals. There's a bunch of countries. I think there's a map in the book. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but so there's the wood, which is the whole thing. There's this middle area called the Wildwood. There's countries called Southwood and Northwood on either end. Wildwood's in the middle, and then right outside of the Southwood is the Avian Principality, which is just birds. No humans, no mammals, just birds. So the political structure is really interesting, especially for a children's novel. There's like some pretty complex situations between these countries, and there's kind of a political conflict that has more than two sides, and there's not like an obvious good versus evil from the beginning, which that's interesting to see as well in a children's novel like this. So yeah, I really liked all of that. I'm not going to talk too much about specifics of the plot. But it's really interesting world building. I will say towards the end, when you've like already been introduced to the setting and most of the characters, and kind of the magic of this world that the author has created, towards the end when you've already got all of that stuff and you're kind of just learning more of the plot as it unfolds, drags maybe a little bit. But I think that might have something to do with the fact that I am twice the age of the target demographic. Maybe, I don't know. But I did enjoy it. I think I probably will read the second and third book of this trilogy at some point. Yeah, trying to think. It's like, it doesn't feel like it's pandering to its audience. Sometimes when I have reread books from my childhood as an adult, sometimes it feels like this author is trying a little too hard to make it a children's book, when really you don't have to dumb things down all that much. Maybe word choice a little bit has to be lowered to a child's level, Maybe certain topics you don't touch as much, but in terms of like complexity of character motivations, complexity of political situations, like in this book between the different countries of the wood, you don't have to dumb it down as much as I think some children's authors think they need to. So I appreciated that about this book. The general like vibe and aesthetic of the book is very like, I think this came out at some point in the 2010s, and it is very much of that era and what you would expect for a children's urban fantasy novel written by the singer of a folk band in the 2010s. Like whatever you're picturing, it's pretty much exactly that. Lots of like the artwork and illustrations. The characters from the wood have like very like Victorian clothing, which I like. I was a preteen when that whole aesthetic was going on. It is kind of nostalgic for me, you know. I was someone who listened to a bit of the stomp, clap, hey music. Not super into the versions of that were hugely commercially popular at the time anymore. I listened to it at the time, not really into some of that anymore, but some of the bands on the periphery of that sound, like the Decemberists, I am still very much into. And yeah, this book is like, if you like the Decemberists, especially if you like the album The Hazards of Love, definitely similar vibes to this. This is not created by anyone related to this book, but if you like Over the Garden Wall, I think this book has a lot in common with Over the Garden Wall. Maybe a little bit more violent than Over the Garden Wall, I will say. There is like a war going on in this setting. The climax of the book centers around a battle between hundreds of bandits and talking animals and crows and eagles. But yeah, generally the vibe is very similar to like Over the Garden Wall, or the music of the Decemberists, that sort of thing. I mean, it's talking animals in like Victorian clothing, with like cutlasses and muskets. Yeah, it was very fun. And I probably will read the second and third book at some point. I know I've said that so many times already in the few videos I've put up on my YouTube channel. I'll read the first book in a series and say like, yeah, I'm going to finish this and I'm going to talk about the rest of the books. And then I haven't with any of them yet, but we'll see. Maybe it'll happen. Yeah, so I think this is my second and last book review of 2024. I'm not going to promise I'll be more active, but there's only like 10 people watching this anyway, so who cares? I'll see you when I see you.